Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, February 14th, Lebanon City Council meeting. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor Gentry?
Here.
Becky McClure?
Excused.
Bill Stoner?
Present.
Dick Robertson?
Here.
Alan Milburn?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the approval of minutes from our previous meeting. We're up to date on the minutes, correct? Or do we have to?
I just sent them out, so I don't know
Let's-
if they've had a chance to look at them.
Board, do you want to hold off on the approval of the minutes then? We'll get those at our next meeting then.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I just sent them out 20 minutes ago, so.
We can hold off then. All right, then we'll move on to department head reports. First up is Police Department. Chief Morgan.
Good evening, board members. Since our last meeting, the Lebanon Police Department has responded to 799 calls for service. A total of 22 people were arrested for the following crimes. 5 for operating while intoxicated, 8 were wanted on a warrant, 2 for possession of meth, 2 for possession of marijuana, 1 for driving while suspended, 2 for resisting law enforcement, 1 for intimidation, 1 for carrying a handgun without a license. In that same time, 9 handgun permits were sent off to the state for final approval. So Officer Cameron Thomas recently completed a training session covering Indiana case law. This update examined, reviewed, and explained significant federal and state Supreme Court decisions that impact day-to-day law enforcement operations. Sergeant Williamson is currently attending the Federal Law Enforcement Use of Force Instructor Training Program at Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. This 2-week course is designed to give Sergeant Williamson the knowledge and skills necessary to successfully design, develop, and implement use of force training using static, dynamic, and interactive training principles. Then the last thing I have is just a reminder and information that the Lebanon Police Department is currently accepting pre-apps for probationary patrolmen. We'll be accepting them until March 11th at 4 p.m. You can find a link to the application on our website or on our Facebook page, or you could just stop by the police stations Monday through Friday between 8 and 4 p.m. Anybody who would like to be a police officer, here's your chance.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir. Next up will be Fire Department, Chief Batts.
Good evening, everyone. Since the last Board of Public Works and Safety, Lebanon Fire has made 182 emergency calls of service, logged 456 training hours, performed 6 commercial pre-plans, and completed 66 commercial inspections. On Friday, February 10th, firefighter Sam Doherty completed and passed the Indiana State Certification for Instructor 2. Instructor 2 is a certification we require from our captains and battalions on up. Sam will be our next promoted lieutenant. He's just a very proactive individual, takes his fire service education seriously, and wanted to get this certification now. On February 3rd, firefighter Sam Cornings completed and passed the Indiana State Certification for Fire Officer Strategy and Tactics. Can't say enough about Sam. I'm sure the mayor will appreciate. He's also a Purdue graduate, and Sam's working towards his ride-out engineer and his ride-out officer, and this is a required certification to do that. This week, firefighters will participate in 3 days of hands-on EMS skill training, including advanced airway and eye-gel. We'll be inserting an advanced airway through a windpipe, rapid patient assessment, 12-lead ECG placement, and evaluation and splinting. It's my pleasure to announce Matt Shepard as the new A-Ship Battalion Chief. B.C. Shepard will be sworn into his new rank Monday, February 28th. This Thursday will be his first shift as a BC. Our battalion chief's process was extremely competitive. I want to thank the following chiefs for participating on our interview board. Battalion Chief Darius McClendon from Pike Township, Deputy Chief Russ Show from Westfield, Chief Dave Owens, retired IFD and current Chief of Training for Whitestown, Chief Mark Hart of Zionsville, and Chief Clint Crafton of Whitestown. They did a great job for us.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief from the board? Anything from the public? Okay, thank you, sir. Next will be Parks and Recreation. John Messenger.
Good evening and happy Valentine's Day.
There we go.
There you go. We removed 4 trees at the Hot Pond last week. I want to thank Crs Program for helping us out with those. They were leaning over houses, and a little more comfortable with somebody that has that much experience. And he did a real nice job. We've already ground those stumps. We're grinding some other stumps that we removed some other trees at Abner. We're working at Memorial Park, removing some trees and some bushes and things along the walking trail where we're doing a lighting project that kind of interfere, and I want to get them down before there's any poles underneath them. So we're working on that. The lighting project at Memorial Park is moving along nicely. They've already put a lot of bases in. There are these hex bases that they screw in, receiving parts as we go, bolts and all that. But the lights, I think, are scheduled at the end of this month, another week or so, and they're on schedule. I just called and confirmed that. So you'll start seeing those pop up. It'll be a dark park for a while because they're going to have to shut off some of the lighting, so be prepared for that. But we'll light up sections at a time. Looking forward to having that job completed, but they've been at it, rain, sleet, and snow. So the tree work at Abner Longley Park is over 50% complete. I don't know if anybody's got a chance to go down there. It just looks beautiful. They're doing a real nice job. Trees are us. They're taking out all the invasive species and trees that are 4 inches and smaller and clearing up the banks. It just looks really good. So that project has probably got another week and a half, 2 weeks of work down there. It just looks outstanding. I want to thank the park staff and also street, everybody that's out there. We had a little bit of snow there, over a foot of snow, and I think everybody did a very nice job of cleaning up the square and the parks and the trail. I think did an outstanding job. So it's nice to work together with the street department on these things, but park staff, a lot of heavy shoveling. Can't come at 2 inches, it has to come all at once, and I think we got around really good. Our last open interview date for concession stand and lifeguard workers was Saturday, February 12th. We had another great turnout. We'd had another one back in January. Between the two dates, we had over 30 applicants for 17 jobs. So really excited about that and looking forward for everybody meeting our new staff this summer. Again, they have to go through certification if they're lifeguards, which is a 40-hour class, and get the training there. And we've got that scheduled already. So I want to thank our park staff there, the office staff, and our pool manager for helping out with that. Be sure to submit your snowman photos to us at parkslebanon.in.gov by next Friday, the 25th. The winners will be announced via our social media and will receive a fun prize. Planning for our upcoming spring pickleball league has started. More information be advertised in the next few weeks. Also, if you're looking at pool parties, those are booked. We have a few openings left, so if you want a pool party, better get on it because they are filling up fast. I'd say probably in the next 2 weeks, I'll say we'll be at capacity there, and they will all be booked. So get on it if you're thinking about it. I would reserve it. We will be posting our spring break fitness challenge in the next couple of weeks. Be on the lookout for more information. Also on our pool expansion on that project is going well also. As far as that, the HWC, our engineering firm that we contracted there, are looking at the drainage. We have quite a bit of drainage issues back there in the back 40 all over the Memorial Park. That is part of their contract to look at the drainage. We had a drainage study done, I think 2 years ago with Gary Ladd Engineering, and they're looking that over, and I'm meeting with them Wednesday to find out more about the drainage on that. We also have for our 5-year master plan, if you could go to our website and look for the Survey Monkey out there. It takes you maybe 5 minutes. If you got time, please just take the survey. There again, Cornerstone Engineering's handling that. We also have an open public hearing on the 23rd at the Herman B. Wells Room. That's this month, February 23rd from 5 to 7. Look at our social media if you have any questions, or call the office. I want everybody's input on this 5-year master plan of what direction we need to go with the parks. The park board's really excited about that, to find out what everybody wants along with the council, and it helps us to plan and budget monies and get together with the council and find out what we're doing. So if you have a chance, please fill out that survey, but attend the meeting if you can, even for 5 minutes. It's going to be really nice. Herman B. Wells Room, that's at the Lebanon High School. If you need direction or anything, give us a call. And that's all I have.
What time is that, John?
5 to 7.
5 to 7?
Yes. And it's a different kind of concept. We're going to do a presentation, it's kind of walk around, give us ideas. We'll have a few different places set up. I just think that's a better way of doing it rather than having a presentation and jamming things. I want people's input, so be several displays set up and ideas, and plenty of people to ask questions to. Park staff will be there, and along with Deb Schmucker from Cornerstone. So appreciate everybody's input on if they can attend also.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John from the board? Anything from the public? Okay, thank you, sir. Next up will be Engineering Department. Kevin Krulik.
Thank you, board. Good evening. Happy Valentine's Day. Public Works projects updates around the city. A few things to report on. Let's talk about the Witt Road project. The bridge project, to remind everyone, is scheduled to start June 1st. Will be a complete closure. Should wrap up first week of August, right before school starts. Also happy to report the last time we met, our construction and maintenance agreements between the city and the county were all executed, and those are all in place now that will cover the long-term maintenance of that bridge. On the road side of things, we are doing a little bit of road reconstruction with that bridge, but we're also looking at a bigger project to reconstruct Witt Road from Lafayette Avenue north to a little bit north of Austin Drive. That was submitted for the 2027 call for federal monies. And we are expecting to hear something about an award on that this month. We'll keep you all posted there as those announcements come through. We also are working on some minor right-of-way acquisition issues for sidewalk projects along there, trying to fill some gaps really south of the creek down to Lafayette Avenue and trying to complete those sidewalk projects. Jumping over to Elmwood, the Elmwood Bridge, we did make a successful submittal on our 2022 Round 1 Community Crossing application, and that would be to fund that project for either construction this summer or 2023. We'll wait to see how those numbers and those bids come in, but that is moving forward. Community Crossing application announcements are expected. They usually come out in April, usually sometime late April, so we'll keep everyone posted there as we get closer to that deadline. And also have to report that we have now executed the bridge construction and maintenance MOUs between us and the county. Grant Street project, this is the one that's probably at the top of my list and things that we're working on currently. We've set a letting date with NDOT of May 5th, so we're working towards that. That requires us to certify our right-of-way by the 28th, which effectively gives us a February 22nd deadline to secure all parcels. We're down to just 2 parcels left to secure. One is just in legal review and waiting to close. The other one we made another preliminary offer this afternoon. That's our last one that's really waiting to get acceptance from the owner, and we feel like we can close that by the 22nd, but we're to the end of the wire here on this one, so we'll hopefully have good news next time we meet, but we are tracking that and working on that daily, if not hourly, trying to get those that owner comfortable with the right-of-way purchase. Remind everyone, the project will be built in 2 phases. First phase is William Street, west of Grant Street to the bridge. That will be built this summer while school is out. Second phase will be built next summer in 2023, and that is Grant Street from and including the intersection of Washington to the south edge of Fordyce Road. We have selected VS as our construction inspector. Actually have a contract on the table that I need the mayor's execution on. We previously authorized us to execute those agreements, and we'll put that in place. And that also is on track to have those documents executed back to NDOT before our letting schedule. Fordyce Street, Fordyce Road, right-of-way acquisition is progressing. We kind of had a pause there to work through some details with the homeowners, particularly in the area between Park Street and Grant Street. We've now released right-of-way buying consultants to approach those owners and make offers. We really were working on trying to coordinate driveway improvements. Since there will be a trail going down the north side of the road, we wanted to make sure we could better accommodate the path as well as the loss of on-street parking that some of those neighbors will be feeling. We've got plenty of time on that one. That is not scheduled for construction until 2024 or possibly 2025. A lot of steps to go through before we get to that and nail down a construction schedule. Big Four Trail, happy to report we had our pre-construction meeting last week to get started on that project. Notice to proceed is actually on the table for signatures and will be issued shortly. And we are just working through that with our inspection firm, which is Clark Dietz, our design firm, which is DLZ, and our construction contractor is Calumet Civil. So we expect construction to start sometime in March on that as weather starts to turn. And I want to thank John and the crew at the Parks Department working to get those trees and fence removals done in the coming days that will free up that construction site. Also, we've been hard at work coordinating projects with Lebanon Utilities on their storage tank project, which is adjacent to the trail at the south end of it where it terminates near Hendricks Drive. Stone Eater Bike Park, final site plans are in today. We're also working on a couple of permitting issues with the county. So we've resubmitted mass earthwork plans. We've also submitted preliminary signage designs, submitted both of those to the county for comment and or approvals. We're also working with the Trophy Club. I'm told that they will be executing our off-site drainage easements here shortly. So we're working with them and their owners to get that executed. That will be required for the full release of construction. And then obviously we've got a lot going on with IDEM. Particularly in the last couple of weeks, we've been working on tree clearing plans. So we've submitted tree clearing plans to IDEM. They've issued comments. We've actually already responded to those comments. We're trying to get a release to start tree clearing while the ground is still frozen to minimize any damage to the landfill cap. We've also responded to the IDEM geology enclosures. That really involved us creating a plan for groundwater testing, baseline testing, and then long-term groundwater monitoring associated with the park. We've also been working with different contractors on earthwork coordinations and donations of earthwork and actually material donations. And we have now started back up with our corporate fundraising efforts as well. Also wanted to talk to you about our CRS program. Our CRS program, that stands for Community Rating System. I want to thank Derek Warren for putting this together, but CRS is a voluntary incentive program that recognizes and encourages community floodplain management practices that exceed the minimum requirements of the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP. Over 1,500 communities participate nationwide, and we are one of those communities. In CRS communities, flood insurance premium rates are discounted to reflect reduced flood risk resulting from the community's efforts to address 3 goals of the program, which are 1, reduce and avoid flood damage to insurable properties, strengthen and support the insurance aspects of the NFIP, foster comprehensive floodplain management. So in January of this year, Derek Warren, who is our Lebanon floodplain administrator, was required to submit our annual CRS recertification application. And happy to report that he was successful in doing that, and we remain at the CRS level 8, which is really the highest level we can get to without us acquiring land and restoring the natural floodplain creek channels. We're not planning to do that anytime soon, so this actually allows people in the city limits to receive a 10% premium reduction for flood insurance program. So I want to let everybody know that, and thank Mr. Warren for all of his hard work there. Last but certainly not least, from our inspection department, inspections over the last 2 weeks, or excuse me, since the last meeting, we've conducted 20 stormwater pollution prevention plan inspections, 6 right-of-way permit inspections. We've responded to 2 complaints and 1 illicit discharge inspection. And I also happy to report the good work of Scott Calvert. He's now been asked to join a committee on the Upper Sugar Creek Watershed Project. So this is something that will be really important to the city long-term on establishing programs associated with stormwater control, associated with stormwater quality. And so this is a newly forming committee, and Scott has been asked to serve on that committee. So real proud of that effort there, and excited to see what comes out of that. A lot of updates around the city on construction projects as things continue, even with this weather. But I won't bore you with all the details on that. But see me if you'd like more updates on what's happening in the construction front.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions for Kevin from the board? Anything for the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, Planning Department, Ben Bontrager.
Good evening, board members. While the weather hasn't exactly been favorable for construction over the last few weeks with snow and things like that, activity continues to be as strong as ever. We did another 51 building inspections out in the snow over the last few weeks, so we're still doing about 5 a day. A lot of strong activity out there. We did see the permits issues decline a little bit, but I don't think anybody's thinking about replacing their roof when there's 8 inches of snow on the ground. But in those numbers, we did have 3 additional new permits for new residential homes, and happy to report that one of those is the model home in Cedar Ridge for Fisher Homes. So they are getting really close to starting construction on homes out there, and actually the secondary plat's on your agenda tonight for approval. So once that gets recorded, we expect to start seeing permits submitted in that neighborhood and moving forward in there. In terms of other projects, I did get a visit from the general contractor for the Brakeman building just across the street over here on South Lebanon Street today, and they're getting ready to put construction fence out around that site so the demo contractor can get started in earnest on demoing the existing building and then starting construction on the new facility. So excited to see that move forward. Another thing, the PUD rezone for the field house project down on State Road 39 was submitted to our office just about a little over a week ago. So we are seeing good activity there. That will go forward with the Planning Commission and Council over the next couple of months for approvals and moving forward with some of the preliminary planning for that site. So again, good activity there, and they're still hoping to be under construction on that field house project this summer. Lastly, in terms of projects, again, this may not be as exciting for some, but exciting for us in our office that work with us every day. We are planning for a pretty significant rewrite of the Unified Development Ordinance this year. I've got a proposal and contract for that's been delivered to me and is just starting to be reviewed, and the hope is that we will have that for approval by the Board of Works in the next month or so, and then also approaching the council for funding of that project in the next month or so, hoping to kick that off in April. So again, not a super exciting project for those who may be listening, but something that will be really helpful for us as we try to streamline our processes and really work to make sure that we've got that ordinance written exactly the way we need to for the future. On the code enforcement side, again, not a lot of activity with the weather the way it's been, but we do continue to follow up on existing complaints that we have, making sure we're addressing those in a timely fashion, and have had a number of new cases related to junk and trash and parking violations, et cetera. So again, continue to see strong activity there, and as we're looking forward in terms of moving into the next season, how we may be able to streamline our processes and make them more efficient, and then also looking at ways that we can be more proactive with the neighborhoods and help them with certain things that, in certain areas that we're seeing regular activity for junk and trash or things like that, we're looking to be proactive and try to help out those things moving forward. So that's all I have for you tonight.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions for Ben from the board?
Ben, how old is our Unified Development
I
Ordinance?
think the last major rewrite was about 15 years years ago.
I was going to say 2007, I believe.
Yeah, it's about 2007, and it's been tweaked here and there since then. And I've got sticky notes on just about every other page with things I'd like to change, so we're just ready for a pretty significant rewrite, making sure our processes are where they need to be.
Any other questions from the board? Anything from the public? Okay, thank you, sir. And Street and Stormwater Department, Kevin, do you have that?
I do, thank you. Update from Dave and the guys at the street department. They've been out keeping ice off from blocking drains, of course. That's been a full-time activity for the last couple of weeks. They've had a few different snow projects they've been working on, as you're aware. On the 28th of January, they were out for slick roads, used approximately 12 tons of material during that event, and did all that with only about 3 hours worth of crew time. Then about 2 weeks ago, on February 2nd through the 7th, obviously a much bigger event, the Snowmageddon of 2022, they used 225 tons of material and had 44 hours on the department over that event, including regular and overtime hours. And then actually this weekend on Saturday the 12th, again we're called out for slick roads, used approximately 31 tons of material, and we're in for about 2.5 hours to get everything treated at that time. And then Dave would also like to welcome, we would all like to welcome Jaden Ledbetter to the street department, a new recent hire. We still have a couple of openings in the street department to get our crew up to full force. But we want to welcome Jaden to the team and remind everyone, if you're interested in a great position, see us about our openings in the street department. That's all I have for Dave.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other questions from the board? Public? Okay. And last but not least, Communications and Community Development, Jill LePage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. I just want to give a quick thank you to everyone who came out to our first Community Creatives Call-Out that happened on February 9th. We had more than 20 people in attendance. Those attendees included painters, sculptors, writers, spoken word actors and actresses, woodworkers, leatherworkers, fabric artists, inventors, and idea people. These are all Lebanon folks, and it was exciting to see so many of our local residents coming out to be recognized and helping us format some plans for the future. The next Community Creatives Call Out is on Thursday, March 10th from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. at the Craft Room. It's the same location as the first call out. That's at 117 North Meridian Street, right next to Sampson Family Leather. This is the call outs are co-created by Riley Jump, who's our community development intern, LHS senior. A chance to flesh out some of our creatives. We had a meet and greet, did some icebreakers, and then we got down to the workings of it all. The opinions of the cultural trail or cultural district, how to better recognize the arts in Lebanon, and the potential of re-establishing the Lebanon Arts Council, were things that were discussed. Maybe asking why. Why are we doing this? What's the reasoning? Threefold, really. It's quality of life enhancement. The looks on those people's faces when we talked about their opinions. One gentleman who has been involved in woodworking is a master craftsman, worked out of his garage, and to connect him with other creatives, to be able to see him, that light bulb kind of go off with him is exciting. Other positives, business and resident attraction. Those businesses and potential residents want to be where creative communities exist. So adding to the arts, more color, more vibrancy are all things that are attractive to businesses and residents as well. Along those same lines, on February 23rd, what's coming up pretty soon, is a creation day. If you ever wanted to work with leather, kind of get into it a little bit, at the Craft Room, again, that's on North Meridian Street. It's a come-and-go leatherworking event. It is free to the public to attend. So you can go in with your families, go in yourself, date night, all those things. Go in, it's all free, experience something new, develop some interest, maybe inject some creativity into our community. Again, it's free. It's on February 23rd, 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Finally, on February 26th, also around the corner, is our Tenderloin Tip Off. The Tenderloin Tip Off is from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. at Memory Hall. This is hosted by the Heart of Lebanon, with proceeds going towards the Alley Activation Project. There'll be a best tenderloin competition. This is an over 21 event. So beer, wine, spirits as well. Some restaurants will be there, just like the Battle of the Barbecue or a pizza contest. They'll be voting, a trophy handed out. Lebanon Leprechauns. We actually will have Roland Cutter, who's on the Milan team, talk with him today. He'll be there, the 1954 team. He'll be there to talk about the movie Hoosiers. So we bring some memorabilia. There'll be door prizes to be able to give away as well. A little Q&A with Roland as well. Tickets are on sale now and can be found on the Heart of Lebanon or heartoflebanon.org. You can also get more information on their Facebook page.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any questions for Joe from the board? Alan?
Hey, just a clarification on the March 10th second call out. What's the time on that?
It is from 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. I'm sorry, 6 to 8.
6 to 8?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Anything from the public? Okay, thank you, Joe. All right, that concludes department head reports. Next would be old business. I don't have anything on my agenda. Is there anything from the board?
No.
No? Okay. New business then. First item up is our 2022 policy changes for the Lebanon Police Department. Chief Morgan.
Good evening again, Board. So the policy I'd like to start with is 301.4. It has to do with our use of force. And what we ran into is, in our old policy, we had a firearms shooting review board. So when we went with flexible with our new policy, then we have just a general use of force board. But the firearms review board got carried over into it, so to clean things up, we would like to get rid of the firearms review board because it would be under the use of force anyway. So there's no point in having both of those in there. So that's the big main change. The secondary change was in our firearms review board, it had the chief pick the board members who would sit on it, and then they would have their hearings and their investigation, and then they would give the recommendation to the chief on what to do. We felt like it needed to be a little bit more separation, so we're going to have the major pick the review board as opposed to the chief pick it and then the board give him the recommendation. That way we can get rid of any impropriety that could be cast upon us. So that's the gist of that one.
Okay.
The next
Well,
one.
let me, before we move on, any questions on that from the board? Okay, go ahead, Chief.
Okay. The next policy is 200.1, and that is our organizational structure policy. And the Cliff Notes version on this is the police department would kind of like to mirror the fire department and have two majors, an operational major and an admin major. So what we're looking to do is have our admin major, he would be kind of our look ahead guy, our future guy. His first task would be working towards getting us accredited. We want our department to be the best department it can possibly be. And by being accredited, there's standards that we would have to meet in order for CALEA to give us the accreditation. Right now, Zionsville's in that process. It's a 3 to 4 year process to even get that done. At the same time he's going to be working towards that, he would be working towards getting us grant money, hopefully get us some state and federal money that's sitting out there that we could supplement instead of taking money from the city. Some of the other jobs and duties, he'd be responsible for the IT aspect for the department. You know, our body cams, there's a lot of IT stuff that goes along with that. Our ECWS, which is our ticket software, our ARI software, which is our accident software. And then also, one of his duties would be generating reports. I want quarterly reports that are data-driven. And right now, we don't have anybody who has enough time to put all of this data together in a quarterly fashion. And then hopefully, once we start doing the quarterly, we can put all of that together in a yearly report that we can then give to you guys. And with these reports, we can see what, maybe we can be proactive in some areas and see, this time of year we have these certain crimes and start working towards preventing it instead of, playing defense. So that's the gist of it, would be creating the new administration major position.
Okay. Any questions from the board on that proposal? So just to clarify, right, so right now we have assistant chief and then a major position. So this would keep the assistant chief, but then also then have major of operations and a major of administration
Yeah.
under the assistant chief, which is under the chief, correct?
Yeah, and if you, there's a flow chart that would also be in our policies on the second to last page. And then if you guys have any more questions on the accreditation, I'm sorry. The last page gives you a lot of information on that. If we can do that, hopefully it'll lower our liability fees also.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the board? Any public feedback on those proposed changes? Okay, I would entertain a motion then to approve the proposed 2022 policy changes for the Lebanon Police Department as proposed.
Make a motion, we approve the 2022 policy changes for the Lebanon Police Department as presented.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion, second. For discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that is approved. Thank you, Chief. All right, next up will be secondary plat sureties and acceptance and approval for Cedar Ridge Section 1. Kevin Kurlik.
Thank you. Ben mentioned this earlier, but happy to announce we're ready to start construction in Cedar Ridge Section 1, and that includes a couple of things that we need to take care of tonight. One would be the approval and acceptance of the secondary plat for Cedar Ridge Section 1 and the acceptance of the associated sureties or bonds, performance and/or maintenance bonds for the infrastructure, the public infrastructure associated with that project. This would all be subject to our office's administrative review of those sureties to make sure they're of the proper amounts and properly certified. And then we would also ask that this action authorize the mayor and the clerk treasurer to sign the plat on behalf of the Board of Public Works and Safety.
Any questions for Kevin on that from the board? Okay, I'm going to make this a long motion here, so if you want to just say so moved, feel free. Would entertain a motion to approve and accept the secondary plat and related sureties in regards to Cedar Ridge Section 1, authorizing the mayor and the clerk treasurer to sign on the board's behalf for that.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that motion is approved. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, board. That concludes what I have for new business. Is there anything else from the board? Okay, we'll move on to claims then, and we're entertaining a motion concerning the claims.
I make a motion, we approve the claims.
Motion to approve the claims. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second from Alan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Claims are approved. Any further announcements or discussion? General public comment? Okay, would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Take a motion, we adjourn.
Motion adjourned. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we are adjourned. The redevelopment commission is up next.